Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and presentation of colors by the Navy Junior Reserves Officer Training Corps, followed by a moment of silence. Present colors. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join us in a moment of silence as we reflect on those serving in the United States Armed Forces, both past and present, the elected leaders for the state of Pennsylvania, and elected leaders of our nation. We have much to be thankful for in our community. Color guard, please post colors.
Ready.
Please be seated. I'll give just a minute because I think we have some more friends joining us. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the March 18, 2024 Owen J. Roberts Board of School Directors regular business meeting. An executive session. The Board of School Directors met on the following dates in executive session to discuss items in one or more of the following areas: legal, personnel, or real estate matters. An executive session was not held this month. The agenda item 4, the superintendent's report. Dr. Stout.
Thank you, Mrs. Peterson. I believe we're going to start tonight with the student council report from Josh Sang.
Good evening to everyone in person and online. Just to start off with our elementary schools, our OJR elementary schools have enjoyed meetings with parents to review student progress during our recent parent-teacher conferences on March 6th and 7th. Our students and staffs are looking forward to a well-deserved spring break upcoming from March 25th to 29th. And upon their return, schools will be very busy preparing for PSSA testing, musical concerts, field trips, and other exciting spring events. Now moving on to the middle school. On March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, the middle school students put on 4 performances of SpongeBob the Musical. The auditorium was packed for all 4 shows, and students performing were absolutely awesome. On Friday, March 8th, the middle school music department held a benefit concert with all donations going directly to Musicopia. Musicopia's mission is to provide equitable access to music education and enrichment, encouraging self-confidence, global awareness, dedication, and joy in pre-K to 12th grade levels and students in their communities. Also, middle school sports began last Monday, March 11th. Hundreds of students are participating in baseball, softball, track and field, girls lacrosse, and for the very first time, boys lacrosse. The past Friday evening was a magical night at Owen J. Roberts Middle School as we welcomed hundreds of students and buddies into our building for the 2024 Buddy Ball. Thank you to all who supported this event through their monetary donations and/or time. And finally, for the high school, our students have had a very, very busy past few weeks. The academic team and mock trials team seasons came to an end. Our NJROTC unit's drill season also came to an end, and they recently hosted their annual military ball. 3 of our artists were honored at the Tri-County Art Show. We also inducted over 80 new members to the National Honor Society. Students have been participating in both the district level PMEA band and chorus festivals, with 3 students qualifying to attend the state choral conference in April. Yesterday, the musical wrapped up its 4-show run. This year, the students performed Newsies and had an incredible crowds at every performance to see their amazing work. Our winter athletics have also come to an end. The boys hockey team won their 3rd consecutive Pioneer Championship. The indoor track and field team, swimming and diving team, and boys wrestling team all had students compete at the state championships. The wrestling team had its highest finish in program history with a 5th place finish. And we would also like to offer a special congratulations to 12th grade student Dylan Bechtold, who was crowned state champion after winning his division and finishing undefeated on this season. This is the 3rd consecutive year that an OJR student or team has won a state championship. 2 weeks ago, the high school also hosted its annual college fair. This year, we had over 100 colleges, universities, and branches of the military participate. When we return from spring break, we will finish up the 3rd quarter and will begin looking to the end of the year with junior prom, senior prom, and graduation all quickly approaching. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. We have one retiree on tonight's agenda, Nita Curran, high school custodian. Nita graduated from our Cleaning Management Institute training and has been part of our housekeeping staff for 17 years. Nita has been a team player, making herself available for cleaning and floor care needs, and has worked diligently during her years of service. She assisted with stadium cleaning to prepare for graduation after a major rainstorm and helped with the welfare of the turtles in the animal room after their tank broke. So some interesting stories. So maybe in retirement, you could write about some of those. But on behalf of our administration and staff and board, we want to wish Nita the best on her retirement. I know we have a room full, but Nita, are you here? I was told you would be here this evening, but I do not see you. So we're also honored to announce John Williams as our March 2024 Employee of the Month. John is the technology site tech for the high school and has worked in our district for over 20 years. Earlier this evening, we have a packed house here tonight because the
Okay. Thank you. We are back in session. Agenda item 5, public comment. There are 2 opportunities for public comment. The first section is for information, proposals, and statements from individuals or delegations pertaining to items on the agenda that will be voted on tonight. Speakers are to indicate your name, township of residence, and the items on the agenda for which your comments are addressed. Speakers will be limited to not more than 3 minutes. Please understand that this is not a time for dialogue with the board. Rather, the board will listen to all comments and consider them in future deliberations. The second section will be at the end of the meeting and is for residents to speak on any item. If you have any question for the school board, please email all Board of School Directors at schoolboardmembers@ojrsd.net, and you will receive a written response. For anyone who would like to make a comment online, please use the raise hand function. When it is your turn to speak, please state your name, township of residence, and the agenda item which you are speaking to.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name's Dan Bechtold, a proud resident of North Coventry, and tonight I stand here before you to discuss a matter of great importance to our community, the inclusion of a wrestling room
Excuse
in our
me, you have to state the agenda item at which you're speaking to. Okay, thank you.
7.11. The inclusion of a wrestling room in our district's renovation plan, specifically tied to agenda item 7.11 regarding the capital financing plan provided by PFM. Let me first express gratitude for the privilege of speaking tonight. It's a testament to the strength of our democratic institutions and the value we place on civic engagement that members of the public have the opportunity to contribute to discussions that shape the future of our community. Last week at the Finance and Building and Grounds Committee meeting, discussions unfolded around the capital financing plan, the 5-year capital projects fund, and the forthcoming general fund budget for the 24-25 school year. These discussions, while fiscal in nature, are fundamentally about the kind of environment we wish to cultivate for our children. Borrowing $72 million for renovations is not just an investment in brick and mortar. It's an investment in our children's future, in the legacy of the O.N.J. Roberts School District, and in the ideals we hold so dear. A permanent wrestling room represents more than just a space for physical engagement. It symbolizes our commitment to providing our students with a holistic education, one that acknowledges the importance of physical prowess alongside academic excellence. This room would serve as a crucible where young individuals learn about perseverance, teamwork, and the sheer will to surpass one's limits. As you ponder the pathways laid out by the capital financing plan tonight, let us not overlook the profound impact a wrestling room could have on our community. The value of a permanent wrestling room extends beyond our wrestling teams. It would also benefit our boys and girls basketball programs, our indoor color guard, and various youth programs by freeing up much needed gym space during the winter months. This addition would not only preserve the condition of our wrestling mats and save practice time for our wrestlers, but also provide a vital space for off-season training, thereby providing gym space for other sports and activities throughout the year. One such location that makes sense in the scope of the work being considered would be under the proposed new gymnasium at the high school. In the plans provided by the Schrader Group at the February 5th meeting, this will be part of Phase 3 slated for the 26-27 school year. Excavating the parking lot and placing a wrestling room under the proposed main gym would provide sufficient space for both the boys and girls wrestling programs and would fit into the existing footprint of the anticipated renovation. This seems to be a cost-effective and reasonable addition to this project. In conclusion, I respectfully ask the board to consider the long-term benefits of a wrestling room, not just for our wrestling teams, but for the entire school community. As the board moves forward with millage rate increases and capital financing plans, we kindly request that the board and administration take the needs of our wrestling community into account as they deliberate on the financial aspects of this significant project. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Any comments? Okay,
Madam President, may I just interrupt for one moment?
Sure.
Nita Curran just arrived, so I thought you might want to know
Oh,
that.
thank you.
And just maybe say
Yep.
something. Thank you.
So, so I talked about you, Nita, before because you weren't here. We did that earlier in the program. But if you wouldn't mind now to just stand up and be recognized, and I will thank you again for your service to the district. Thank you very much.
Congratulations on your retirement. And we are moving into agenda item 6, board committee reports, 6.1. A working session was held on March 4 at 6 p.m. The following committees met at this time: Curriculum and Special Education, Finance, Buildings and Grounds, and Legislative and Policy Committee. Mrs. Carmine, point of order, I'm not sure the Curriculum and Special Education met that evening. We did? Okay. I thought we had to pause that and we took it off curriculum because we did not have quorum.
No, we had the special education state plan and then the updates from Dr. Monahan. and such.
Personnel was that. Okay, thank you. 6.2 Chester County Intermediate Unit, Mrs. Munson.
the Chester County Intermediate Unit last meeting was before our prior meeting, so I've already given the report for that. I would like to say for all of you, the voting slips that you'll find here tonight, I've personally spoken to those CCIU board members from other districts, and I am supporting all of them. So, would be interested in discussing. If you have some questions over why you should support any of them, would be glad to talk it through. And the next meeting for the CCIU is this Wednesday, March 20th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Munson. 6.3 Curriculum and Special Education Committee, Mrs. Sabo.
The Curriculum and Special Education Committee met during the working session on March 4th. We had two items on the agenda, the PA State Education Plan, which is on the agenda tonight, to be acknowledged by the board, agenda item 7.10, and the mid-year data summary presented by Dr. Monahan, Mr. Fletcher, and Dr. Lehman. The department is working on summer programs and getting ready for the spring testing. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Mrs. Sabo. 6.4 Finance, Buildings and Grounds Committee, Mr. Harmonos.
The Finance, Building and Grounds Committee met on March 4th and on March 11th this month. Both presentations included, both committee meetings included presentations on budget items and the capital finance plan that is presented later for acknowledgement of the board in item 711. Additionally, tonight we will be voting on routine items 7.2 through 7.10 and routine items 9.2 through 9.5. Item 13.7 is the vote to exonerate uncollectible real estate tax liens. And item 13.8 is professional and maintenance service agreements. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harmonos. 6.5 Legislative and Policy Committee, Mrs.
As
Munson.
mentioned, the Legislative and Policy Committee met during the working session on March 4th. The outcome of that you can find on 7.8, Policies for New Reading. It's primarily the new policy 254, Educational Opportunity for Military Children, and then some modifications to other policies to align with that, specifically to make sure that there's wording including military children in our district's policies, which is already in alignment with what we believe we're already doing. So our next meeting will be during the April 8th working session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Munson. 6.6 Personnel Committee, Dr. Otoli.
The Personnel Committee did not meet, so no report.
Thank you, Dr. Otoli. Agenda item 7, recommended routine matters. 7.1, a motion to approve recommended routine matters consent items 7.2 through 711. May I have a motion to approve recommended routine matters consent items 7.2 through 7.11?
So moved.
Mr. Harmonos,
Second.
Mrs. Munson, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item 8, recommended routine matters. 8.1, the acknowledged receipt of donations, contributions, and gifts. This month, we recognize at French Creek Elementary, the French Creek Elementary PTA donated $1,056 for a second grade field trip to the Da Vinci Science Center, $1,104 for the 5th grade field trip to Bear Creek Mountain, $630 toward the 6th grade field trip to Lincoln Financial Center. And at North Coventry Elementary, the North Coventry PTO donated $1,235 for the 6th grade field trip to Lincoln Financial Center. Do I have a motion to acknowledge receipt of those donations, contributions, and gifts?
So moved.
Dr. Otoli, do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Evans, any discussion?
We're always grateful for all of these donations.
Absolutely. Our PTAs and PTOs and their support of this district is appreciated by not only the students, but the entire community. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item 9, approval of routine matters consent items. Do I have a motion? 9.1 to approve routine matters consent items 9.2 through 9.5.
So moved.
Mr. Harmonos,
Second.
Mrs. Chevelle Fuller, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item 10, board discussion. Does anyone have anything they'd like to discuss at this time? Okay. 11, old business. Mrs. Carmine, do we have any old business today?
No, not this evening.
Okay, thank you. We are moving on to agenda item 12, new business approval of personnel matters. I am going to ask for a motion, but I will be abstaining from this vote for a personal conflict. So do I have a motion to approve personnel matters consent items 12.2 through 12.8?
So moved.
Mrs. Munson and a
Second.
second from Mrs. Sabo. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And one abstention, the motion passes. Okay. Agenda item 13.1, the approval of state overnight student trips. May I have a motion to approve the out-of-state overnight student trips as presented?
So moved.
Dr. Melnazak, do I have a second? Dr. Ratoli, any discussion? I will just say that this seems like a really exciting and full list for our students. It's pretty cool. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. 13.2, the approval of conference attendance. May I have a motion for the approval of conference attendance as presented?
So moved.
Mrs. Sabo? Dr. Ratoli, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 13.3, the approval to establish a student activity. May I have a motion for the approval to establish a student activity club in accordance with the provisions of Section 511 of the Pennsylvania School Code and School Board Regulation 122A and/or 122B as presented. This approval also provides for the establishment of accounts within the student activity accounting system where applicable. And the school activity club that is asking to be established is HOSA, the Health Occupation Students of America. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Melnazak and Ms. Sabo, any discussion?
If I'm not wrong, I think the CCIU TCHS schools each have, or at least Pickering has a very active branch of this. So I'm sure the kids have some good guidance along that line.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 13.4, the approval of student activity club advisors and student officers. May I have a motion for the approval of student activity club advisors and student officers in accordance with provisions of Section 511 of the Pennsylvania School Code for the 2023-24 year as presented?
So moved.
Dr. Melnazak?
Second.
Mr. Bell Fuller, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 13.5, the approval of the 2024-2025 staffing recommendations. May I have a motion for the approval of the 24-25 staffing recommendations as presented at the March 4, 2024 working session?
So moved.
Dr. Malmazak,
Second.
Mrs. Munson, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 13.6, the ratification of homebound instruction. May I have a motion for the ratification of homebound instruction for student A as presented?
So moved.
Ms. Sabo, do I have a second?
Second.
Dr. Melnazak, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 13.7, the approval to exonerate uncollected county real estate property tax liens as requested by the County of Chester Tax Claim Bureau. May I have a motion for the approval to exonerate uncollectible county real estate property tax liens as requested by the County of Chester Tax Claim Bureau as presented.
So moved.
Mr. Harmonos,
Second.
Dr. Melmezak, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 13.8, the approval of professional services maintenance agreements. May I have a motion for the approval of professional services maintenance agreements as presented at the March 4, 2024 working session?
So moved.
Ms. Munson,
Second.
Mr. Harmonos? Any discussion?
Just like to add, I'm so glad to see approval of the professional service agreement, Timely Schools for this, an update and upgrade on the scheduling software. I think that will free up so much administrative staff to do other things other than continually shuffling index cards and writing and erasing the whiteboard and then inputting everything. I mean, I think there will be many other benefits to this besides a smoother scheduling process.
Agreed. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item 14, public comment. Information, proposals, and statements from individuals or delegations pertaining to any item. Speakers should indicate your name and township of residence. Speakers will be limited to not more than 3 minutes. Please understand that this is not a time for dialogue with the board. Rather, the board will listen to all comments and consider them in future deliberations. Also, if you have any questions for the school board, please email all Board of School Directors and school board members at ojrsd.net and you will receive a written response. For anyone online who would like to make a comment, please use the raise hand function. When it is your turn to speak, please state your name and township of residence.
Heather McCrary, East Coventry. I'd like to thank the board for their support during mock trial season that we just had and the other activities that I've seen you guys at, including the musical. A lot of you, it's near and dear to my heart, and I saw a lot of you guys there. It was a great show. I'd like to just ask the board to keep in mind that when you're going to do this spending and take on this project, that I really wish that you guys would make sure that you keep in mind the balance of the other things in this school district that go with academics. There's a lot of focus on the sports, and I know the wrestlers really want a dedicated room. So it's not about not giving the wrestlers a room. It's about also striking a balance between the academic things that have been talked about and focusing a lot on this building and spending, because there's things that have been talked about. The language at the elementary schools that has gotten lost by the wayside, a lot of comments on the math program. One project near and dear to my heart that's still out there is AP Capstone. You have kids that are AP scholars, but you don't allow them access to the very top program in which they can actually get additional college credit for. So I think that would be nice if you guys could just make sure of things like that, the balance and the gifted and the special education programs that I hear people talk about. And is the building and like spending plans going to be advertised on the front of the website? I know I come to the meetings and keep myself informed, but I think you guys need to make sure everybody else is informed every chance that you can get. I do actually have a topic I haven't asked about recently, which is pay to play. And I think it's really time this district start to look at that, because there are students in our district who are not really well off. And when we do an activity, some kids just drop out because they can't afford it, right? And they just drop out and go by the wayside. So there's other kids that actually can do things and pay more. And I think some kind of income coming in with really respect to the sports activities needs to be assessed in this district. And I mean, I think the sports scholarships here, the program has increased since my kids were here. So that is really nice for the kids getting sports scholarships, but the academic scholarships and service far outweigh the number of sports scholarships. I don't want you guys to lose sight of that. And lastly, what can we, the public, do to help you about Mr. Chester? It is unacceptable that he's not here. It is, you know, we all know he got in trouble, happens. I'm a lawyer. But for him to not come and to not sit in that seat hurts the people of this district. He ran, he was elected. He either needs to come to this meeting or he needs to resign. Thank you.
Are there any comments? No comments online? Thank you. We are moving into board discussion, follow-up and request for information. I would like to acknowledge that Mr. Chester is online this evening and have been fully participatory in this meeting and voting at every opportunity. Is there any additional discussion or follow-up for information from the board?
Yeah, I forgot to mention, or we forgot to welcome the Boy Scout troop that is here tonight. I ran into a parent who asked me where the meeting was. And of course, my first thought was, why? But they're here to get their merit badge. So which troop is it? Okay.
Thank you.
Well,
Now, this was a short meeting, so you really get half of a merit badge.
doesn't really count.
We're willing to take
If it-
questions from the Boy Scouts after we're done with the meeting though. So, you know, if any of you have follow-up questions, feel free to talk to us afterwards.
Thank you.
Hey, both of my sons were in 140, Troop 140. They are now in their 30s. But it was really a wonderful foundation for them. They started when they were like 4 years old. So it's just a great, this 140 is near and dear to my heart. It was great over there they met at the church in St. Peter's. So thank you for coming.
Are there any Eagle Scouts here? Okay. Well,
Congratulations.
yeah, if you boys are going for the Eagle Scout, I encourage you to continue. I myself also an Eagle Scout, and it's funny, you know, like that was a long time ago, and it comes up in a conversation, and it opens up doors, and you get an understanding of people, based on that shared experience. So I know it gets hard sometimes. It's a lot of work in addition to school and sports, and whatever. But I encourage you to move forward with that. Good luck.
Any additional discussion or follow-up?
Sure. It was quite a weekend, with the play this weekend, and I got to talk to a lot of folks, parents, community members, and the pride they had in our school district, in Owen J. Roberts, and in the theater program, and in the other programs was evident in everybody's discussion and handshake and smile. And then also attending the Wall of Fame induction, we had 3 wonderful recipients who put a lot of time into Owen J. Roberts, and they all mentioned that their time at Owen J. Roberts, the opportunities they had, the teachers that they had, really shaped their lives and their success. And I think I think that really stands to show that we're really doing a good thing here. We have a tradition of excellence. And I think that we need to continue with that, but that made me feel good.
I also wanted to let everybody know that this week is Neurodiversity Celebration Week, which is near and dear to my heart. So if anybody doesn't know what it is, I encourage you to look it up and see